Dear graduating class of the academic year of 2015, dear Acting Chancellor, Lina Srivastava, Pro-Vice Chancellor Rajiv Seth, dear faculty and staff of TERI University, dear alumni, and honorable guests. First of all, congratulations to the graduating class, and my thanks and deepest appreciation to be able to be here and to be honored by your university with this honorary doctorate degree. I'm delighted that I've been able to follow the invitation by Chancellor Pachauri for this important event. I think my preceding speakers have very much expressed already the gist of what I thought I would also talk about. So in order to change up a little bit, I will talk about maybe something more personal as to what relates to me, what I could call maybe my own personal journey towards sustainable development, or at least awakening to the concepts of sustainable development. But before I start, let me just once again remind the graduating class that I think you should really take it all in this very moment. The familiar surroundings and faces, the sense of feeling at home, and the satisfaction, as we've also heard, of having achieved your mission, and the unbridled excitement of starting a new chapter in your lives. Tomorrow morning, much will feel strangely familiar, yet so different. So please do take in this very moment. I want to sort of start my own personal journey with sort of my encounters. And 39 years ago, when I started my international career as a junior expert with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, I was based in a small Caribbean island nation called Grenada. I don't know whether any of you know where it is located. And being fresh out of university, so I was sort of busy, trying to pretend that I'm busy on industrial surveys, trying to figure out the entrepreneurial capabilities of the business sector, trying to understand what maybe comparative advantages this little island might have. But very soon, actually, my work almost, in a sense, was finished, so I started to do lots of other things. But this also being a tiny island community, the United Nations presence was very small as well, so I got to know pretty much everybody. And this is when I actually met a very experienced consultant from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, FAO, an expert in water and soil conservation. His name was J.S. Bali, and he had a distinguished career as a foremost water and soil conservation authority in India. Indeed, he was a founder of the Soil Conservation Society of India. Now, he decided to take me under his wings, and he tried to teach me. It was quite a difficult task, but tried to teach me the fundamentals of the do's and don'ts of terracing for agriculture. Now, I'm from Japan, so I'd seen terraces before, but being having grown up in the city, I had no clue as to how this terracing actually worked. So he really was my first mentor in terms of steering me towards sustainable development. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, but to me, Mr. Bali really embodies, personifies the consummate professional who never lost his almost childlike wonder at the magic of nature, and who never forgot to dream. about a better future for mankind. So this was the very beginning. I then joined the World Bank in Washington, and my first sort of pretty much 10 years, the first decade was very much spent, or I have to think, probably about 10 years, was very much spent in working on Western and Central Africa, in water supply, utility sector, energy sector, and so on, infrastructure, urban development, etc. And I was also posted in a small country called Benin. And the key thing was that how badly can you get things wrong, economic policies, because it was pretty bankrupt. It was so bad that all the banks had to were de facto closed, so we had to close them. And teachers went on strike because they hadn't been paid for 2 years, all these things. And painstakingly, we tried to put together a program. But the important lesson for me was you cannot neglect the environment. Because one of the things that we found out was in the middle of the country, there was supposed to be a very big, dense forest. And only when aerial pictures came did we understand that actually the center was totally holed out. It was just a donut because farmers simply invaded and did their thing that they do. So we made sure that from the very beginning in our overall reform program that forestry or reforestation, protection of whatever was left of wildlife, and so became a central theme as well as creating jobs. Fast forward a couple of years later, again, I found myself in the Ivory Coast, this time in West Africa. Ivory Coast is the biggest producer of cocoa, as you know. And once upon a time was covered by a very dense tropical rainforest. Unfortunately, illegal logging and poaching took its toll. And in the mid-'80s, when I was there, not much was left. So as part of our program, we focused very much on the whole governance issues of how to manage the natural resources for sustainability in a way. That's how we, in a way, and I got lots of teaching from my colleagues there. But the real takeaway there was, unless you really have good governance, communities that are really committed to protect the natural resources themselves, and unless you have somebody somewhere, today one would say an awakened civil society, unless you have somebody somewhere that holds authorities to account, desirable things will simply not happen. My third and last decade at the World Bank was more spent at the managing or the so-called transition economies of Central Eastern Europe, all the former, the successor republics of the former Yugoslavia, as well as the Soviet Union and so. And again, it came, the legacies of central planning and the lack of utilizing prices as a signaling, as a resource allocation mechanism, clearly led to a huge, huge deterioration in the cost of environmental pollution. Now, in a way, it taught us a lot about the importance, but what we neglected, and I have to say that on our side, was we did simply not make the link at that time. This was in the late 90s, the first decade, about 10, 15 years ago. We simply did not really make the link between climate change and coming up with the proper pricing of the costs of climate change. We are so, as economists, more concerned with the issue of, okay, how do we come up with the proper growth accounting models? How do we, in a way, make sure that infrastructure investments, industrial investments, large or small scale, actually yield supposedly their benefits? And we still do not account for the terrible cost of the impact of climate change that those very same decisions actually engender. So after having gone through this period, then one day, after I decided to retire, the authorities of Kazakhstan asked, now do something totally different, get out of your comfort zone. That's what I used to tell others. And, please develop and run our new university. And I must say that when I listened to the speeches of both the acting chancellor and the pro-vice chancellor, it very much resonated with me, because those are the very same objectives and strategies that we are aspiring for. Now, our university is only 5.5 years old. We only graduated our cohort last year, so we have a lot of catching up to do with you. But your words have been very, very inspiring, and I want to thank you for those. And this takes me a little bit more to the role of what I feel is the role of higher education institutions, and in particular, sort of smaller, elite, I should call you guys elite research universities. You have been really highly trained scientists, economists, intellectuals, and future thought leaders. And this is what elite research university ought to do. Just last week, I was in Boston, and I participated in a small workshop that brought together presidents of a handful of new, rapidly developing research universities. As you know, many emerging markets, most developing countries have now entered into a race to try to develop research universities, because they see it as an essential core capability for the future, to diversify the economy, to modernize economy, as well as join the overall knowledge revolution, the digital revolution. At that conference, at that small workshop, we discussed the whys, why we exist, the hows, how we developed, but what's next? And the whole issue of sustainability, but this time not necessarily the environment, but our own institutions. And I'm just mentioning this to you because, for me, TERI should have been there, in a way. And TERI University does embody the concept of what the theme of that workshop was, namely accelerated development universities. So again, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you, and through you, the university community, for your tremendous achievements over very short, and development over a very short period. Now, in a way, my message is to you, the graduates. It's tempting to become pessimistic, considering the huge challenges ahead to protect a healthy future for mankind. But I look at you the same way that I look at my own students, and I see the future, a positive future, a future that looks bright, that holds a promise of reconciling our aspirations for development and nature's ability to accommodate us and regenerate itself. You have been given the opportunity, the very rare opportunity, to acquire the knowledge of what it takes to ensure a sustainable future for mankind and its environment, knowledge that is expanding at dizzying speed through discoveries made possible through new technologies, and you have the wherewithals now to conceive, for instance, crops that can withstand severe droughts or even thrive without water. I'm not talking about The Martian, by the way, the movie. Or to develop contingency plans in the event that natural pollinators, such as bees and other insects or birds, are wiped out by catastrophic events, or to come up with breakthrough technologies that push forward the boundaries of renewable energies. All these things you have been equipped to learn or to continue to research at TERI, because TERI stands for, as we heard it, Knowledge for Sustainable Development. And turning this concept and your dreams into reality is your mission. And this is also what we've heard already. But to whom such opportunity, so much opportunity and privilege has been given, much obligation also awaits in turn. In my book, your obligation is indeed to live your dreams, to soar as high as you possibly can and change the world. I'm sure that you have heard these words before, but let me conclude by sending you off into your bright future with the same A, B, C, D, E, and HR message that I convey to my own students. So please bear with me. So first, please be ambitious, that's the A, in your dreams. And B, believe in your dreams. But that's not enough. Please be confident and commit to your dreams. But then, because that's not, ABC is not enough, then you have to do something about them. Please do and implement your dreams. And while doing so, E, enjoy it and have fun. Now, normally I finish there, but looking at my students, and I don't think that it will hurt here, I also now started to add an H and R. So please always be humble and maintain a sense of humility. And always, always respect and be respectful to others in the same way that you want to be respected by them. And with this, many thanks for listening. And again, my heartfelt congratulations to you all. Thank you very much.